Welcome to this week's episode of the Vulnerability Rocks podcast. I am buzzing for this week's episode because I was introduced to Tap with Brad by my life coach, Wendy, aka the completion coach, last year. And it really shifted a lot inside me. We'll talk about more about that within the actual podcast episode itself. But just to give you a bit of a background on Brad. So Brad is an EFT practitioner, and he's the author of the best-selling children's book, The Wizard's Wish. He's also the co-author of the bestseller, Freedom at Your Fingertips, and he is an expert in the film, The Tapping Solution. He's also been a presenter at a number of events, including Jack Canfield's Breakthrough to Success, and I love Jack Canfield's books. So this is so, I'm so excited to have him here. And he's also done teleseminars with the stars of The Secret. He is known internationally. He has over 1,000 videos on YouTube that have been viewed over 32 million times, 32 million times. And I will link a couple of his tapping episodes and his YouTube channel in the show notes, so you guys can go and do this for yourself. But first of all, we're going to get to know Brad. We're going to work out, why he's in this arena, and he's going to introduce you to EFT, why it's beneficial and why it can unlock so much for us. So without further ado, I'm going to welcome Brad onto the show, and I really hope you enjoy this. Get a pen, get a pad, take some notes, write down the links to his YouTube sites. It's going to be good. Welcome, Brad. How are you today?
I am excellent, Emma. Thanks for having me on.
I'm so excited to have you on, honestly. I got introduced to your work last year by a life coach that I had called Wendy, the completion coach. She's a Brit, and she introduced me to your tapping technique. And the one in particular that she started me off with was allowing great things. And I cannot tell you how much it just moved me around in a really, really cool way. And it really helped me to realize quite a few limiting beliefs and narratives that I have been holding on to forever. So thank you, first of all, before we start, because
My pleasure.
It was super powerful and really shifted gears for me in quite a big way. Before we go into what you do, can I ask you about you? So who's Brad? Where do you come from? Where do you live? Tell me about you.
I'm a proud native Californian, born in Anaheim, right near Disneyland. I used to have nightmares that I was born underwater on the submarine ride. But I have lived in California almost all my life. I was an actor. I'm a recovering actor now. And that's kind of how I got into this, because I was touring the world doing theater. Came to Hollywood to be a movie star, and while there, met a woman, fell in love, and got married. And when our first child was on the way, I was thinking, I may need a backup career.
Yeah.
I'd had a few gigs. I'm not a doctor, but I did play one on TV on Days of Our Lives.
Did you?
And I did.
I love that.
Yeah, I helped save Sammy's life.
Did you? Amazing. I never, this interview is just going to get better and better, I know.
So I started, I got trained as a hypnotherapist as a side gig, and started building a small practice on the side. And it was great because all of my training as an actor, and I studied acting in London for a while. And so I've had this trained voice. So it was very beneficial for hypnosis. And it was great because when my audience fell asleep, that was actually a good thing. So, and after a couple of years, when our second child was on the way, I realized, as much as I loved acting, that doing personal development work was really my calling. That's really what fulfilled me. And we moved out of LA to be, came up to Northern California to be closer to family because we had 2 small kids at the time. And through some other hypnotherapists, heard about energy therapy and tapping. And I thought, oh, okay, I'll look at this. And I just fell in love with it. And little by little started introducing it into that work. And little by little that became, my sessions became tapping sessions with a little bit of hypnosis.
It's so cool. And now Tap with Brad.
And with Brad, I had, it was around, I started putting tapping audios on the internet, and then YouTube was created, and I thought, hey, wouldn't it be cool if there's a tapping video that people could watch? And I'll call it Tap of the Mornings. They can use it to start their day. And that was all I ever intended to do. I had no idea of, I'll put a bunch of videos. Like I'll just put one video out there on YouTube. And it was like 6 months before I did my second video. when I decided, there should be a tap of the evening for people to end their day with some tapping. And then some other ideas came up, and now I have over 1,000 videos.
That's incredible. This is incredible. And 32 million views.
And counting.
That is crackers. Like, so cool. And can you, before we move on to what is EFT and what is tapping, and apart from the Days in Our Lives gig, you were in London training as an actor. Tell me some other acting gigs that you did.
Well, I got my first line in a movie as a favor from Sir Richard Attenborough, or eventually Lord Attenborough. It was very much a law of attraction kind of thing, where it turned out that my parents had friends who were friends of Richard Attenborough. So I had gotten this gig as an extra on Chaplin. Mm-hmm. And through these connections, I was able to get in touch with Brian Forbes, who's a famous British director who worked with Attenborough. And next thing you know, I'm on the set of Chaplin, and someone comes up and says, "Are you Brad Yates? Come with me," and took me over to meet Richard Attenborough.
Oh wow!
And he wrote in a line for me, and I got my Screen Actors Guild cards.
Super cool.
My first time being an extra in a film, I actually met Peter O'Toole, which was pretty darn awesome.
Isn't the world a wonderful place, huh? Like how we weave, and like right now you're in California, I'm in Dubai, and it's just, I just find it incredible. I love amazing. The way that we all connect and things just weave around the world, right? And it's just not that big a place after all, huh?
And if I can take off of that, just the reflection and that acknowledgement of how amazing the world is and what's possible. And it ties into the video you mentioned, allowing great things, because there are so many great things. There's so many opportunities. And the extent to which we're not experiencing great things tends to be the extent to which we are resisting them. Mm-hmm. Because we have these limiting beliefs about what we deserve, what's okay for us. Mm-hmm. Certainly with a traumatic background, there can be a lot of beliefs of, I deserve bad things, I don't deserve good things. And it's a misunderstanding made oftentimes from a very young, undeveloped mind that says, oh, well, this must be what I deserve. And so we go through life either looking at the great things and going, well, that's not for me, or not even seeing them. I just see the bad, because that's how we keep ourselves safe. Because it's what we understand. If we understand being treated badly, then that's what's going to be most familiar. If someone treats us nice, it's like, what's up there? That's going to lead to something dangerous. And we have this stress response. And if only we had something that could help us relieve stress. Anyone hearing this on audio? I am tapping on my face.
Yeah.
The tapping is one of the quickest, most natural forms of stress relief, and it helps us relieve the stress that comes up when we start to consider unfamiliar beliefs like, hey, I could enjoy the wonderful things all around me.
Yeah. And I really hear you when you say, if you've had exposure to lots of bad or heavy or emotionally overwhelming traumatic things, that the limiting beliefs that can come through, we don't even realize they're there, but they're so loud that it drowns out everything else. Right.
Right.
And what came through for me when I was doing You're Allowing Great Things, there was a bit where it was like, maybe we are jealous of them having it. That for
Yeah.
me didn't resonate anything. But then the next part where it was like, it was more a case of that just is not possible for me,
Right.
rather than a jealousy. For me personally, that
Right.
tapping, it brought up a not a jealous of, like I'll celebrate everyone else, but that's just not my story.
Right. Right. I'm not allowed to have that.
Exactly. And it was this enormous, like, I don't know what happened in me. I sobbed and I sobbed and I sobbed. And it was so powerful. It's just, I find it fascinating. So tell me, EFT tapping, talk to me. Tell me what it's all about.
Yeah. So, as I said, it's this natural way of clearing stress out of our body, and there's still a lot of theories about the exact mechanics. Originally it was based on acupuncture. So for thousands of years in Chinese medicine, they've said there's this flow of energy through the body, and when the energy is stuck, we don't feel good, we don't think clearly, and when it's flowing naturally, we experience our natural state of health and well-being. So in acupuncture, they stick needles in these points, and these are the same points that we're tapping with our fingertips.
Mm-hmm.
We have studies showing that our cortisol levels drop. So that's one of our stress hormones. So we have scientific evidence showing that our stress is greatly relieved during the tapping. We now have fMRI studies, brain scans, showing where the parts of the brain light up and how that shifts after tapping, so that we're not having that same kind of brain activity. There is theories about the polyvagal system, this vagus nerve that runs from the spine down the body, and how that regulates emotion. And so all these different ways of how is the tapping exactly down regulating stress. The key thing in terms of behavior modification and changing the way we look at the world is recognizing I have these beliefs based on old things. And certainly as a child, when you're experiencing some difficult situation, you're not rationalizing going, oh, okay, I think probably the most effective thing is to decide here that I shouldn't have this. It's just what we take on because we're trying especially in those early years, trying to make sense of the world.
Mm-hmm.
When I get up in the morning, I put my feet down on the floor and, I go to the floor. I don't float up to the ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
We're figuring out how the world works. And so a lot of that is misunderstanding. So, but we can't go through life always learning new ways of doing things. We don't have, if we had to get up every morning and go, oh, when I take the covers off, am I going to go down to the floor? Or am I going to float up to the ceiling? It's like, no, I just know what's there. I know that gravity works. I know where the bathroom is. And I know that I'm unworthy of love or kind treatment or things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So if we try to challenge those beliefs, we have a stress response. The amygdala, this thing in the brain, in the midbrain, tells us this is a threat.
Mm-hmm.
It's a threat to consider a different way of thinking. And so we stop ourselves. We distract ourselves. We come up with more justifications for why this belief is true. And because we are powerful at manifesting things in our lives, we might actually manifest situations like, see, that person was mean to me. There's further evidence that this belief I've had all my life is true.
Mm-hmm.
And so using the tapping to calm down that stress response, we're able to look at it and say, okay, but wait a minute, there are some good things that have happened to me. So despite my best efforts, I have allowed some, I'm still here.
Yeah.
Apparently I'm still allowing oxygen.
Yeah.
I've allowed at least a few good meals. There was that person who smiled at me on the subway, 3 years ago. So we might also go, and you know what? There are other people who had really crappy childhoods that now have fantastic lives. So apparently a crappy childhood is not the be all end all, doesn't have to determine my fate. So as we calm that down, we start to see new opportunities, and that shifts. And sometimes the shift happens quickly, especially you can really see, like when you're sobbing, it's like, okay, I've really keyed into something. there are all kinds of responses. Yawning is a very common response when we're really shifting things. And sometimes it's more slow. So if we're not yawning or crying, it doesn't mean, oh, the tapping didn't work. It just means that it's a more subtle thing. And sometimes people will say, because they'll hear of these really profound shifts that some people have with tapping, if it doesn't happen right away, they say, oh, that doesn't work. It's like if you're trying to get in shape and you want to have 6-pack abs and you sit down, you do 3 sit-ups and go, well, no 6-pack, obviously sit-ups don't work. It's like, you might have to do a few more than 3. You might have to tap for more than 5 minutes.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And it's just for me, I think I just was very fortunate to, you've got 1,000 videos, right? I happened to go on the video that spoke to me in that moment, and different things will speak to different people, right? So, you know, I was struck gold, really, right? It was my first video of yours, and it was, you know, it was intense. So
well manifested. Obviously, there's a part of you that says, you know what, I do deserve to find what I need.
Yeah. And so tell us a little bit about your work and how you work with people. And I know that you've done lots of big things. Tell us about that too.
Yeah, so, well, for instance, the Tapping World Summit that it is starting in a couple of weeks from when we're recording this. It's the 13th year, and I've been on it ever since the beginning because I was also in the film they made, The Tapping Solution. I've had the pleasure of teaching EFT on the stage at Jack Canfield's event. Gabby Bernstein, I was on an Instagram live with her. I've worked with all kinds of cool people from the movie The Secret.
Yeah.
All the videos that I do, and then I do some group sessions and private sessions. And I also, once upon a time, I did live workshops. Traveled all around the world. As I said, I almost
you met people in person, in the real flesh. Did you really?
Gathered together in a room, sitting next to each other, speaking and talking and communicating. And
are you sure you're not talking about an outer planet, not R1 right now? I mean, oh my gosh.
I have, for the last decade, I have been coming back to London every 2 years, London and Ireland. And London's my favorite city in the world. And it's like, okay, I should be coming back this year. Will I be able to come back this year? Or is my streak going to be broken?
I mean, what a couple of years. I mean, it's just, it's almost unrecognizable.
Something
and I wonder, something to tap on. Like, and I wonder what it's going to be like when we do go back to, I mean, normal. I don't even like to use that word anymore. I'm kind of worried to use that word now.
Some people are doing it. Some of the workshops I was supposed to do this year were with my buddy Steve Wells, who's an Australian tapper. And we were going to do East and West Coast of the US and then East and West Coast of Australia. And then the pandemic hit just before our workshops. We were just thinking, are we going to have to cancel? And then it's like, oh yeah, we've got to take these online. He's in Western Australia, where they've managed it so well, they're living normal. You know, I see photos. He sends pictures of him at sporting events where they're all sitting together in the stands. Like, wow, what a concept!
I know. I mean, we're kind of in a midway space in Dubai right now. We're not like Australia. I mean, my friend lives in Australia, and I don't think they're opening the international flight borders till 2022.
No, they've got it fixed. They don't want anybody else coming and messing it up. When you guys fix it, then you can come in.
Until then, stay outside.
Exactly.
And I mean, Dubai is kind of like in the middle ground. We're not as shut down as the UK, for example, and parts of the US, but it's sort of 60%, you know, 50%, 60%. It's like this watered down version of life. It's a bit weird. It's like
well, like, we're here in California, and we're still avoiding going out when possible, wearing masks, and even with basically seeing nobody and wearing masks, my wife and I still got it at the beginning of the year.
Did
So,
you?
yeah, we just recovered it in the last
Oh,
couple of weeks.
I'm sorry.
I can totally advise people, don't get it. It sucks.
Oh no, I'm sorry. God, it's
Yeah.
rough. A few people and they, they say it's rough, right? And
It was
obviously,
the worst 2.5 weeks of my life.
oh gosh.
And I'm one of the lucky ones who had,
Yeah.
got through it.
Gosh, well, I'm
Didn't have to go
glad
to the
you
hospital.
no, I'm glad you did. Um
Tapping helped to get through it.
yeah.
When there's the fear of, am I getting worse? Am I never going to get better? I'm
Oh
having trouble breathing. Tapping is a great thing for relieving. In fact, the video I released yesterday was on feeling anxiety about your health.
yeah, gosh. And I think a lot of people will be feeling that right now. So obviously I'm recording now for a podcast and it will go on YouTube. Do you think we could do a demo audio? Can we do that?
I think we absolutely must, Emma.
Okay, over to you. You're the expert.
So, is there anything coming to mind? It's like, well, I would love to have my audience experience some tapping on this particular issue.
Well, the podcast is all about vulnerability rocks. So most of my guests come on and we talk about heavy stuff. Either very serious health experiences, trauma experiences, anything from sexual abuse to domestic violence to living with addiction. So all of our topics are quite heavy. A lot of my listeners listened to the last year's worth of podcasts last year, and I get messages like, Emma, I've listened to this and I resonate with this person's story, and I recognize that there's some work I need to do. Where do I start? I want to feel better than I do. I don't want to feel stuck anymore. And I want to not be afraid to feel my feelings. How do I do that?
Yeah. Yeah. Excellent. I know I have an idea of where we can go with this.
Okay.
So, and for those of you who are listening to the audio, you can go to YouTube to see where the points are that we're tapping. And I'll just tap, and Emma, you can be my echo voice and repeat back what I say, and everyone else just tap where I tap and repeat back the words. Please, as I say in all my videos, you must take responsibility for your own well-being. So I'm not going to delve into anything too heavy, but as we're going through the process, you may find some things that come up. And so if you know that you are like dealing with some really heavy emotional stuff right now, you might want to wait until you've got someone there for emotional support, or to work with a practitioner or a therapist, somebody who can actually be there to help you move through it. For the most part, it's a very safe process, and we work through stuff. So what I'd like everyone to do is go ahead and close your eyes, take a deep breath. And just following your breath through your body, just say, I'm afraid of being vulnerable.
I'm afraid of being vulnerable.
And just notice on a scale of 0 to 10 how true that feels and where you might feel that. Knowing that vulnerability rocks and can lead to all kinds of amazing things in life, but at the same time, because of things you've experienced in the past, it may not feel like an option. So just allowing yourself to be aware of that understandable resistance to being vulnerable. Open your eyes. And even though I'm afraid I'm too vulnerable,
Even though I'm afraid I'm too vulnerable,
I choose to love and accept myself.
I choose to love and accept myself.
Even though I'm afraid I'm too vulnerable,
Even though I'm afraid I'm too vulnerable,
I choose to love and honor myself.
I choose to love and honor myself.
Even though I'm afraid I'm too vulnerable,
Even though I'm afraid I'm too vulnerable,
I've been hurt in the past.
I've been hurt in the past.
And getting hurt sucks.
And getting hurt sucks.
And I don't want it to happen again.
I don't want it to happen again.
So I put up my walls.
So I put up my walls.
And I resist a lot of opportunities.
And I resist a lot of opportunities.
And even though I feel too vulnerable,
and even though I feel too vulnerable,
I choose to deeply and completely
I choose to deeply and completely
love, honor, and accept myself,
love, honor, and accept myself,
and maybe anyone else who convinced me that I was too vulnerable,
and maybe anyone else that convinced me I was too vulnerable,
because I choose to be that free.
because I choose to be that free.
All this fear that I'm too vulnerable,
All this fear that I'm too vulnerable,
all of this fear that I'm too vulnerable.
all of this fear that I'm too vulnerable.
Other people are safe experiencing life.
Other people are safe experiencing life.
They can take risks.
They can take risks.
They can put themselves out there
They can put themselves out there
to enjoy all kinds of great opportunities.
to enjoy all kinds of great opportunities.
I don't have that option.
I don't have that option.
I feel too vulnerable.
I feel too vulnerable.
I'm afraid I'll be hurt.
I'm afraid I'll be hurt.
And I'm afraid I won't be able to handle that.
And I'm afraid I won't be able to handle that.
All this doubt about my resilience.
All this doubt about my resilience.
All this fear that I'm not resilient enough.
All this fear that I'm not resilient enough.
Although part of me knows that's not true.
Although part of me knows that's not true.
Because I'm still here.
Because I'm still here.
There's been a lot of crap that's happened to me.
There's been a lot of crap that's happened to me.
And I have handled all of it.
And I have handled all of it.
Maybe not always as gracefully as I would have liked.
Maybe not always as gracefully as I'd have liked.
But I'm still here.
But I'm still here.
Which means I handled it.
Which means I handled it.
And it's understandable.
And it's understandable.
That part of me might say.
That part of me might say.
Yeah, even if I did handle it.
Even if I did handle it.
I don't want to have to handle it again.
I don't want to have to handle it again.
All this fear that I couldn't handle it again.
All this fear that I couldn't handle it again.
I'm allowing myself to know.
I'm allowing myself to know.
I'm not the same person I was then.
I'm not the same person I was then.
I'm smarter.
I'm smarter.
I'm wiser.
I'm wiser.
I'm more experienced.
I'm more experienced.
I can see the red flags sooner.
I can see the red flags sooner.
I choose to have more faith in myself.
I choose to have more faith in myself.
So that I can allow myself.
So that I can allow myself.
Some of the things I've been resisting.
Some of the things I've been resisting.
This fear of being too vulnerable.
This fear of being too vulnerable.
Has made me miss out on some things.
Has made me miss out on some things.
Things that I deserve.
Things that I deserve.
Because the truth is.
Because the truth is.
I am a magnificent child of the universe.
I'm a magnificent child of the universe.
Worthy and deserving of the best this world has to offer.
Worthy and deserving of the best this world has to offer.
And nothing is too good for me.
And nothing is too good for me.
But I may have to step outside my front door to experience some of it.
I may have to step outside my front door to experience some of it.
And I'm moving through this fear that I'm too vulnerable.
I'm moving through this fear that I'm too vulnerable.
As human beings, we're all vulnerable.
As human beings, we're all vulnerable.
And that allows us to experience some really good things too.
And that allows us to experience some really good things too.
And we're also resilient.
And we're also resilient.
And I choose to have more faith in my resilience.
I choose to have more faith in my resilience.
So I can allow myself more wonderful things.
So I can allow myself more wonderful things.
In body, mind, and spirit.
In body, mind, and spirit.
And take a deep breath. Close your eyes and just follow your breath through your body. And feeling what's going on in there, say again, I'm afraid I'm too vulnerable.
I'm afraid I'm too vulnerable.
And rate that again on a scale of 0 to 10. And hopefully maybe that number has come down. Or you may just be more aware of certain thoughts or memories that might come up that say, well, here's why you're too vulnerable. And those are things you could do additional tapping on to get more clear. And even, looking back at past events and going, oh, it wasn't that I was too vulnerable. It's that I was around some people that I didn't know I should avoid. Mm-hmm. And I'd avoid those people now.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. I'm a bit tearful. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for making me cry now.
Just one of the services I offer. Making the girls cry and the boys and everybody else. And
no, thank you so much. That was amazing. And guys, this will go on to YouTube. So you can go and watch this on YouTube and do that for yourself. And I will also be linking Brad's YouTube channel and all of his links, so you can go find him and look at his other work. Brad, where can we find you?
Yeah. So thank you. Tapwithbrad.com is my website, and that has links to virtually everything. I'm on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter as Tap with Brad. So pretty simple to remember that.
Yeah, super.
And plenty of resources there.
So good. Brad, I'm just beyond grateful for your time today. Thank you so much. And it's also super early for Brad, right? Like he's out of bed like early doors because we're opposite ends of the clock. So thank you, me to you. I'm grateful.
Wow. Thank you, Emma. It's my pleasure. Thank you for the work that you do. I know you're out there making a big difference, and thank you for the opportunity to share this work, because I know how tapping can benefit people. And to everyone who's watching, thank you for being willing to do the tapping, because the benefits you allow will benefit other people and the world at large. So thank you for this opportunity to share this.
Thank you.